Hello, welcome to the Last Show podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to watching the live show on Twitch or YouTube, wherever you get this. This is the podcast. If you guys haven't already, check out the audio version, the actual podcast. This is just a simulcast, seeing how this is work. All right, let's start it up. Let's get it going. As the great philosopher Mos Def once said. Hello and welcome to the Last Show podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to the show. My name is Kortney Williams. I'm the host of the Last Show podcast. This is how it gets down. This is the second time this week. Oh, we doubling up on the shows, man. Somebody must have got paid. Oh, there I get. Now I can hear myself. I was just talking to myself in an empty room. I felt lonely out here in these streets. My name is Kortney Williams. I'm the host of the Last Show podcast. I am a stand-up comedian based out of Tampa, Florida. This is how it gets down. Subscribe, follow the show, however you want to do it. I always feel weird when I tell people, hey, you should follow the show. Like, I'm not Jesus, okay? Like, the idea of me having followers is just has a little too much pressure. Like, when you have followers, I'm sure there's some kind of cancellation right behind it. Like, there's some Matt Gaetz rumor that's waiting to tumble my career. Actually, there's not. Allegedly, that dude was in some sex trafficking. You know what I mean? I've never been in those kind of circles. You know what I mean? I've never had access to the sex trafficking movement. All right, let's move along. Subscribe to the show, follow the show. Shows on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio. I'm broadcasting live on Twitch right now. If you guys haven't already, check out my Twitch channel. Everything is at Kortney Shane, by the way. Twitter at Kortney Shane, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, whatever it is at Kortney Shane. Go to my website as well, KortneyShaneWilliams.com. You can see where I'm performing my actual stand-up comedy, which is my job once again. Thank you for employing me. I will be in Seattle, Washington, the 27th and 28th, recording my new comedy album, which is a really big deal. And I will be in Sacramento the week after that. I think that's the September 4th, 5th weekend. I'll be there. I'll be in Oklahoma City, July 7th through 10th. So we got some dates on the board. In the meantime, another podcast this week. It's Monday. It is 2:46 East Coast time, and I am talking to you. We're looking live. Remember, that's how Brent Musburger ended his career. I'm looking live. Second down and 9. This is the greatest thing. Now he's in Vegas. Yeah, man, so I'm trying something with this podcast. You guys has been listening for a long time knows, I'm not here to do work. I don't take the podcast game seriously enough. I'm gonna be real. These people take the Do you see what's happening to Joe Budden? That dude is getting destroyed. Destroyed, dude. People take the podcast. I thought Joe Budden to pump it up. That's the only thing I really known about Joe Budden. Apparently, this dude is a podcast mogul, and the group is breaking up. It's a Destiny Child situation because everybody's getting thrown out but him. Everybody got to go, dog. Except only difference is Joe Budden's mama and daddy ain't firing him. Can I say that? Is that an Illuminati stuff? Did y'all not know? The strings were being pulled. So people take this. I don't take the podcast that seriously, man. For anybody that would see this, YouTube, whatever, I don't take it seriously. I'm actually doing this to supplement my other stuff. A little peek behind the curtain. I'm a stand-up comedian. That's actually what I do. I want to be the greatest stand-up comedian ever. The podcast was just a means to get you through the week. That's what the means of the podcast is. When you do comedy, you perform on the weekends. And after you get done performing, it's like, oh, that dude was funny. And then you go back to work and try to tell my jokes. And then you get fired, right? And then all of a sudden, I don't have a fan anymore. So instead of you trying to go to work and retell my jokes, I was like, hey, I'll do this podcast. It'll basically be the bridge in between my shows that'll get people to, hey, this guy, oh, he has a podcast. That was it. There was not a career choice. There was not a career move. There was not some kind of master plans. I don't have a podcast network in the making. You wonder why? Because that seems like a lot of work, okay? It's like I'm not interested in working. My job is stand-up comedy, not podcasting. However, trying something a little bit different. Man, this watch is too doggone tight. Yo, G-Shock, y'all got to work on these bracelets. Is this even a bracelet? This is a strap. Y'all got to work on that. This resin thing, man. Look at that. Look at that. I'm a white guy underneath this watch band. It's too tight, dog. Suction cup level. I mean, dude, honestly, where do you think I'm going? Skydiving? Like, loosen up the strap a little bit on that. But anyway, so I'm dropping another podcast this week, was my long way of saying that. So I'm dropping another podcast this week because basically I'm like, you know what? If there's topics, then I just start dropping multiple podcasts a week. So you may get a week when there's 3 podcasts. You may get a week when there's just 1 podcast. It depends on if the content is there. And today, the manna rained down from heaven. You know what I mean? And then the news fairy, just dropped down on my lap. Oh, Bill Gates. Yo, Bill Gates, they coming for you. Hey, Bill, blink twice if you need help. They are coming for you, man. Oh, they got Bill Gates. Oh, man, they got Bill Gates out there in these streets. I didn't even know Bill Gates was about that life. Apparently, I've been underestimating the nerd my entire life. I thought Bill Gates is just, in his spare time, at home, eating hoagies and ice cream sandwiches, and working on computer processing. Oh, no. Bill Gates was slinging the D, y'all. Bill Gates was out there listening to Luke, man. Bill Gates was in these streets, dog. I've seen the backstory. Because, with like the divorce thing, and I should have smelled it coming. And you know what I mean? But these tech dudes, I don't really know what they're into. Like a tech dude, I assume they're just into Bitcoin. But what is actually happening is the tech dudes is like just, throwing Bitcoin out there as chum for all you losers that think you're going to be rich one day and trying to get me into Bitcoin when all you do is train at a CrossFit gym. Hey, man, Bitcoin, man. You got to buy some Bitcoin. That's how I'm setting up my family. Bitcoin, dog. That's the chum they're throwing in the water for you suckers, Meanwhile, Bill is at home, finessing these hoes. What? Bill Gates, so he got that divorce, and you never know, right? Because your man's on Amazon, Bezos, he got a divorce, and it was some pictures that was about to come out, some extortion, and Bezos is a gangster about his. Bezos like, hey, man, release the pictures. I ain't really worried about it. Bill Gates apparently was out in these streets, and apparently he admitted it. Bill Gates' story, and I did reporting, by the way. I've done report, and by reporting, I watched 5 minutes of YouTube videos. I was like, oh, this is a topic for the podcast, dog. So yeah, I feel bad saying this stuff because I kind of like Bill Gates, you know what I mean? But I needed content. Sorry, Bill, it's your time in the box. It's just the way it works. One day it'll be me. You can repay the favor on your podcast that I'm sure you have time to do for free. So I did a little bit of research on Bill Gates. Apparently, Bill Gates was in a relationship with a woman, and the relationship started in 2000, and it went from 2000 to 2019. All right, and they call this a relationship. Let me tell you something. That is a wife. You've been in a relationship with somebody for 20 years. Why you had Bill Gates was out here on some polygamy, dog. Bill was just stunting on these hoes. Apparently, that's just the way Bill rolls, dog. I never knew. That was the way Bill Gates' stealer was working. I did the research. From 2000 to 2019, Bill Gates was having an affair on his wife, and I got a couple questions. First question, how good is his password, dog? Like how good is your phone password? You cheated on your wife for 20 years, and no one had a clue? Not a whiff. That dude is a CEO of a huge corporation, and not a whiff, dog. This dude's password has to be some tanagram. It has to be symbols. Like Bill Gates' password, it ain't even numbers, dog. It's some like hieroglyphics mixed in with Braille. Bill Gates probably has one of those things like a light bright where you punch this thing right here. You know what I mean? Like the imitation game. That's probably what it takes to get into Bill Gates' cell phone. I'm telling you right now, most dudes listening to me that get caught cheating get caught because the iPhone is left on the kitchen counter. You just got tired one night. She just swiped down and boom, there it is. Bill Gates, dog, had some top level security. If I knew Bill Gates, or if we knew Bill Gates' password game was that strong, he'd still be making cell phones right now. That's probably what killed the Windows cell phone business right there. Bill Bill was like, hey, she keeps figuring out my password. What am I gonna do? I need an iPhone. I knew that Steve Jobs had something up his sleeve, and it just wasn't more black shirts, dude. That dude never gets caught. So that was one of my questions. And the other question is, because like I said, I did research. Oh yeah, I did some reporting, man. I got down in the trenches. And like I said, my reporting consisted of 5 minutes of YouTube videos. That's all the reporting I did. But it got me thinking, Doug, if you had an affair for 20 years, was it a surprise? Perhaps everyone knew. Oh yeah, because I did a little more reporting, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Gates met his wife in 1986. And you know where they met? Wait for it. While she was working at Microsoft. So apparently, this is Bill Gates' stilo, okay? Bill Gates met his wife in 1986. He met his second wife in 2019. He met his second wife at Microsoft around 2019 or 2000, and he just kept it pushing, dog. Perhaps his wife knew. Look, man, I don't know all the arrangements, and I don't want to assassinate anybody's character. These are all alleged things. And I say allegedly because I don't want one of Bill Gates' people coming after me. This is all alleged. What I will say is it smells like an entanglement. Oh, yeah, we all figured out what an entanglement was. I knew what an entanglement was. Apparently, the rest of the world figured out. I never had a name for it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not crafty enough to get away with crime. So, I mean, if I do something wrong, I just do it and keep it pushing. You know what I mean? But I'm not the dude say, I need an entanglement. That sounds much worse, much better than I was cheating on my wife. You know what I mean? An entanglement, man. But we all found out what entanglements was. Perhaps Bill Gates was entangled. Maybe they're swingers. Oh, because that was a revelation to the world when you found out Will Smith and Jada Pinkett may or may not be swinging out in these streets, you know? And it hurts me to say this. It does actually hurt me to say this because I actually like what they do. I actually told my wife this randomly. I was like, if we ever get rich or I ever got rich, like, the world can't be, you just get rich and have a bunch of money and buy a bunch of stuff, you know? I love buying, like, watches, but there's how many watches can you own? I only got 2 wrists, you know what I mean? I got 2 legs. I can throw some watches on the bottom of my legs, like I just got out of prison and I'm on a work release program. But basically, after 4 watches, I don't have anything else to put the watches on, right? So it can't just be get rich, buy a bunch of stuff. Like, I would just give the money away. That's what I would do. I would just give the money away. And I was like, but I don't want to start a foundation. So like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they do great stuff. And they do great stuff. You can have some immoralities and do good stuff. Like, it ain't, and by the way, he didn't commit any crime. And for all I know, they may have had a relationships in their, an understanding rather in their relationship. Who am I to police your love? I mean, dude, you can't fault who you love. He happens to love everybody in the mailroom. That is the thing that's his cross to carry. You know what I'm saying? So it was never a thing like that, but I always thought y'all wanted to, join that foundation. That'd be pretty dope because of stuff they do in water in Africa. Like, they do a lot of fantastic stuff with that foundation. They really do. But before I join the foundation, I got to know if y'all swinging. I just got to know because I swing too. I want to know if my lifestyle is accepted underneath the Microsoft blanket. You know what I mean? I don't want to mess around and go to lunch with Bill one day, Next thing you know, I'm in front of a Red Lobster trying to make somebody's dreams come true. I want to know what I'm stepping into, dog. I just want to know. If you're swinging out in these streets, swing on, Bill. Swing on. He didn't go full Tiger, though. You know what I mean? As long as you don't go full Tiger, there's always a way for you back to society. Especially once they figure out, like, dude, you was with her for 20 years. Like, you start doing the math, and you're like, nah, ain't nobody password that good. Like, somebody had to know something. So he can go full Tiger. As long as you don't go full Tiger and start abandoning women in hotels or R. Kelly. I mean, that's the worst. That's criminal. I mean, you definitely don't want to go R. Kelly. But he can go full Tiger. If you go full Tiger, there's almost no coming back. Basically, if Bill Gates went full Tiger, he had to win the Masters. You know what I mean? And I just don't know how his backswing is. So, good thing you didn't go full Tiger, Bill. I'm sure things go well for you. And Seattle, y'all will make it through. I'm actually going to be in Seattle recording my album. I shouldn't even be saying this stuff. I'm sure y'all might have some weird kind of animosity. They've taken down the two richest people in your city, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. Both of them. Slinging the D, dog. Captain D. Uncle Luke was singing about Bill Gates in these streets. It's the Last Show podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Last Show. It's called the Last Show because this may be it. All right, guys, thank you for staying on the live stream. For you guys that aren't familiar with the show, which, hey, if it's your first time, welcome. Drop me a line, by the way. You can send me an email, or you can check out my website. I got to link up the email on my website, now that I'm thinking about that out loud. But every week on the podcast, what I do is I review some song. So hopefully it doesn't come through. But yeah, I review some song every week on the podcast. It usually has some theme. If you weren't here at the beginning of the show, there was Uncle Luke. So Uncle Luke is the song of the week, and then we'll see how I tie it in. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work. And it's a real touch and go situation. By the way, the podcast is not edited. You get it raw and uncut, stem, seeds, and everything, okay? Because that's work. We're not working today. We are comedians, okay? We ain't working. All right. All right, thank you for staying with the Last Show podcast. Cap D coming, Scarred by Uncle Luke. This is one of the this is the clean version of the song, by the way. I try not to let clean versions or dirty versions of songs, and I don't really curse on the podcast because I know some of you guys have kids and things like that. Some of you guys might be at work, messing around, your headphone plug come out, everybody see it, listen to it on the computer. Are you listening to Uncle Luke? Is that Bill Gates? Is that an iPod? Yeah, man, I got a better password, dog. I kept getting caught in these streets. But Uncle Luke, man, Cap D, in honor of the great Bill Gates, ladies and gentlemen. But this is one of the songs, Scarred. I don't even know what the actual is Hydraulics or Scarred. I don't know. But the clean version of this song is actually better than the dirty version. It's one of those rare songs like that. Like, I heard the clean version basically my whole life because on the radio and things like that. Then you heard the dirty version. I was like, oh my gosh. What have I been getting down to? What have I been getting my boogie woogie on to? I was just a 10-year-old, talking about Captain D coming. I didn't know Captain D. I thought that was a dude that came and brought ice cream, Polar Cups to the neighborhood if you lived in the suburbs. You got the Polar Cups in Florida. I'll teach you about that one day. Oh, yeah. I grew up around some rich people, okay? Podcast, thank you for coming through. It's an interesting thing. What did I do this week? Because I definitely want to talk about Bill Gates, but I do this Joe Budden, Chris Webber. I got a lot of little things going on. I'm going to touch Joe Budden first. Now, I don't listen to the Joe Budden podcast. A couple of reasons. Number one, it's behind a paywall. I'm not paying for a podcast. There's too much free content, or not free. There's too much content out here with my subscriptions that I have. Plus, I'm not like a podcast guy. I'm really into sports. If Joe Budden did sports, it's a better chance that I would pay for his podcast. And even then, I wouldn't pay for the podcast. I'm not paying for it because, it's just not what I'm doing. I got enough things I already pay for. You got to be on one of the networks. Like if Joe Budden's podcast was on Disney Plus, I'd watch it. Because I pay for that. If it's on Netflix, Disney Plus, Spotify, my website, like these are the ways you can get the podcast into my hands. Other than that, dude, I don't. So I don't really listen to Budden podcast. Plus, oddly enough, I don't listen to a lot of music podcasts. You know what I mean? And they talk a lot about music. But like I catch clips on YouTube, so I understand the dynamics of the show. Rory, Maul. I know the show broke up, then it came back. That's when it got juicy, by the way. Like when the show broke up and they came back, I was like, oh, the tension. It was like Well, remember Fresh Prince and Bel-Air when they brought in the third Aunt Viv? He was like, ooh, the light-skinned one. This is getting touchy behind the scenes, you know what I mean? That's like when I started like really kind of watching this show, and then it just disintegrated. So whatever's happening behind the scenes, obviously it's some money issues. There's some money. It's always some money, right? In business and friends, it can be completely separated. Ain't that what the prophet, Biggie Smalls once said? So that was that. Oh, you know what? I'll write that down. That's the 10 crack commandment. Just write down 10 cracks. I don't know why I'm letting y'all behind the scenes, but this is actually how I do the podcast when I'm not on video. I feel like I got to announce that I'm working. But one takeaway from the Joe Budden podcast mixed in with Ellen, about a week, because now Ellen's show is ending, and she had these allegations of abuse and things like that, and racial abuse. It seems like, without any knowledge, and this is actually something that I could say, flatly. Treat people nicely. Like, treating people nicely goes a long way, especially when controversy breaks out, right? It goes a long way. Just be a nice dude, man. And it does seem like maybe you get to a point, maybe you get so successful or whatever, and money reveals character. So if you're a scumbag and you get some money, you're just going to be a bigger scumbag. You know what I mean? And then everybody knows you. It's like Donald Trump, right? It's like that tiger didn't go tiger. That tiger didn't go crazy, rather. That tiger went tiger. Like, that's what happens. So if you are that way, that is what gets amplified. It gets turned up, right? That's it. Be a nice person. Whether you're Ellen or Joe Budden or the people that work to do it goes such a long way. Because when there is controversies and things like that, people are like, oh no, man, look, man, that dude is really dope. Like, yo, let's give him another chance, or, maybe there was a misunderstanding, or, yo, he would never cheat me, anything like that. I mean, shout out for you guys that don't know, like, one of my favorite shows, oddly enough, which is not a sports show, is the Dan Le Batard radio show. I've been listening to the Dan Le Batard show, oddly enough, since like right before LeBron left Cleveland the first time. So you're talking about since maybe around 2009-ish, so you're talking about close to 20 years. Basically since, Bill Gates had a separate family. That's how long I've been listening. But I've been listening to it for, what is it, 2020? Yeah, like since, about 2009, because LeBron went to Miami in 2010. Yeah, that sounds right. And, dude, Dan seems like a good dude, generally. And it comes out on the show, generally, right? So they're in a situation with ESPN and whatnot when they left ESPN and went, and now they're with DraftKings and things like that, where them dudes stay tied together like a unit, man. He takes care of his people, and he makes it very clear money is not the factor for him, because Dan don't really need money, right? So you look at a situation like Joe Budden or with Ellen, it's like, if those people were generally nicer, would it be a different thing? Can you be at that successful ladder or successful level and just be generally nice? Somebody who maybe, we definitely have different comedy styles and things like that. Somebody like Kevin Hart seems like a generally nice kind of dude, man. Trying to put people on, nice kind of dude. Seems like it just goes a long way. So like when I'm watching, like the way the podcast basically broke up, and now Rory and Maul basically are going to have a podcast where they're going to talk about Joe. And then Joe has this. Now it's more attacks coming at Joe. Like Joe is mad inappropriate with a woman on the show, on one of his podcast networks. Just repeatedly inappropriate. Now it comes out that you're actually the scumbag, allegedly. You definitely look like a scumbag. Definitely. And I'm saying allegedly because I wasn't actually there. So being nice would go a long way. But then again, you got to ask yourself, could you help yourself? And not you being in Joe Budden or Ellen, you in the broad term. That's who you are. Like Donald Trump can't be better. He can only be terrible because he's a terrible person. It's like the great philosopher Ice-T once said. They say make a horror movie with a happy ending. They don't have happy endings. It's a horror movie. It's supposed to end horribly. Like, if that's what you are, you're just going to be terrible. My advice to you, though, be a nice dude. Me personally, I like to think I'm a nice dude. I like to think the people I come and interact with would say I'm a generally nice dude. the people I work with, and like I don't have like a team or a podcast, but when I do projects, I call on the same people all the time. The guy that does my artwork, shout out to Isaac Novak, who would probably never hear this. Um, I use them on everything. All my, my comedy merch, albums, I call him for everything, dude. I like working on them. I like using them. And hopefully he would say I'm a nice guy, the easy guy to work with. I don't know. I can be demanding when I want certain things in the way they look. But at the end of the day, I'll credit you. Justin Brown, another dude I like working with, man. Generally just a good dude, man. And that's basically the circle. That's it, man. So I would like to think that, just be a nice dude, man. It goes a long way. And Bill Gates might be a nice dude. Maybe that's why nobody's coming out. Like, oh, he didn't touch me because we weren't dating at the time. You know what I mean? But when we were, he was a foul owl on the prowl, man. The other thing is the Chris Webber. So Chris Webber got into the Hall of Fame. Or they're getting in next year. It's Chris Webber, Paul Pierce. I didn't watch all the Hall of Fame. I watched NBA Hall of Fame is what I'm talking about. I watched some of the stuff on stage with Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley, and that was it. Kenny wasn't there. And then I watched some of Kevin Garnett's speech. I haven't watched Vanessa Bryant yet. And I watched some of Tim Duncan speak. Tim Duncan can speak. Did y'all know that? Tim Duncan has got a mohawk of what's something? Dreadlocks, dog. He looks very island, which oddly enough, he's from the Virgin Islands. He looks exactly like a vacation picture. That's what Tim Duncan looks like. He should be in Atlantis right now, taking your ticket for a water ride. Dude. So I watched all that. But one thing is they announced who was in next year because of the way COVID happened. They had to delay the induction. So next year is Paul Pierce, Chris Webber, and somebody else. But Chris Webber came on Countdown with Jalen Rose, which, if you know any of the history of the Fab Five, like immediately my eyes lit up. That came across my timeline on Twitter, and I retweeted it and whatnot. And I actually added him. I mean, who am I, right? I got like 100 followers. Who am I? But I added Jalen Rose and Chris Webber. I'm like, yo, dude, hopefully this means, like, we can have the Fab Five, man. Like, the Fab Five is a big deal. Like, at that point, Fab Five was before I was watching basketball. I came basically right after that. Like, I really started watching college, that kind of stuff, like, when everybody hated Duke. By that time, Duke was already winning, Grant Hill, the whole thing. So I came right, but I knew the Fab Five because I knew the shorts got baggy. Like, I saw my dad play basketball, and what are those, dog? Why do you got your panties on right now, son? That's not a good look for the park. You take those high tops off, man. The Fab Five is like a really big deal, and with the fallout, and basically it's been Chris Webber versus Jalen Rose basically for the last 10, 20 years. And truth of the matter is, I guess it's more Chris Webber against Jalen Rose and Jalen Rose doing Jalen Rose, which seems to infuriate Chris Webber because Jalen Rose is driving the narrative of the Fab Five while Chris Webber is like, yo, I thought we were gonna. Meanwhile, Jalen doesn't seem to really care about any of that, right? So it's been this weird tension, and there's been interviews about it, and Chris Webber spoke about it. Matter of fact, when Michigan went to I think they went to the championship that year. Did they play Kentucky, I think? And they lost in the championship game. Actually, they lost, I think, to Anthony Davis in the championship game. And they wouldn't even sit in the same section. But it was like, oh my gosh, Chris Webber and Jalen Rose in the same building. Maybe they'll bury the hatchet. And it just didn't happen. It never happened, right? So Chris Webber didn't want it that way. There was a recent episode of All the Smoke, which is the podcast. I actually listened to that one a little bit with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. They had Chris Webber on. Chris Webber talked about the Fab Five. I listened to it. And the thing he laid out made sense. Whatever happened, happened. There's a lot of backstory into it. I'm not here to get into it. But seeing Chris Webber get into the Hall of Fame and seeing those two dudes on TV interacting, it was great, man. I mean, it was great. I hope it's over. Maybe it's conveniently over, but however it's over, it's over. Whatever took it to be, and maybe it's not over. Maybe it's simmering. but hopefully they can move past it for my sake. You know what I mean? I'm not interested in what's best for their lives. It's for me. Because one thing that's interesting is Chris Webber's probably not going to stay with Turner, right? He ain't going to be on TNT more than likely. I think his contract is up at the end of this year, which means Chris Webber is a free agent. And if you're not paying attention, Paul Pierce left for ESPN in a firestorm. Paul Pierce got fired from ESPN for having one of the worst stripper parties of all time. I mean, that party would have brought a tear to Bill Gates' eye. It was just, actually not even a tear, just, a frown, a drop of the head, and there's just a shake of the head and just walk out of the hotel room. It's one of the saddest parties of all time. It's like you got them strippers, over in Ybor City. I went to high school with them, man. It's a terrible party, but he got fired from ESPN, which means there's definitely an open spot. And ESPN don't ever get the Hall of Famers, by the way. ESPN, I believe, as far as basketball, they have 0 Hall of Famers on the air. 0. Meanwhile, Turner, that's all they got. They got Shaq. Well, they did have Chris Webber, but they had Shaq. They got Barkley. They got Reggie Miller. Hall of Famers going everywhere. And then you got Kenny Smith, who played, on just a fantastic finals team. They had a crazy run in the finals. Like, they got dudes over there, man. Kevin McHale, I think, works for Turner now. Gary Payton, Kevin Garnett. Like, ESPN don't have that. So it may, in fact, be really convenient. And what I'm secretly rooting for, Chris Webber going to ESPN. I actually think Chris Webber can be good. He doesn't call games the best, but we all got flaws. And I'm not here to bash Chris Webber. But in the studio on the TNT show, Chris Webber is pretty good, man. It's pretty good. And for when Shaq went to TNT and it was terrible, and he admitted, by the way, that he was terrible, he had to reassess it. Like, if they could make Shaq good and Chris Webber is better than Shaq, why couldn't they bring him to ESPN and make that show better? Yeah, ESPN. Now, they don't have Ernie Johnson. They got to get somebody like Ernie Johnson. I don't know who that would be. The best thing is, what's your man that's not Chris Fowler, but the College Game Day dude. I still got it up. Reese Davis. Oh, Maria Taylor is good. I like Maria Taylor. But I was thinking about this before the show. Bomani Jones. I'm in the tank for Bomani Jones, get me wrong. But if it was Bomani Jones, Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, and you add another dude in there that would just kind of Richard Jefferson. If that was a table, that's gold, man. That's gold. So first things first, man. Them dudes getting back together and being on TV together and actually talking and just saying, yo, I love you. You're my brother. Like, whatever it is. I'm not in that. But life is short, man. Be a good person, man. You know what I mean? Like, just be better, man. Made me feel good, watching that. Other than that, man, I bet we can kind of wrap up the show. There was something else in here that I wanted to... dang it. This should have led the show, man. I watched hockey last night. Oh, man, I didn't even know black people could watch hockey. Somebody said this last year. Yo, the hockey last night was lit, man. I was watching the Lightning and the Panthers. I have no real rooting interest. I'm kind of rooting for the Panthers just because I listen to Le Batard's show, which is in Miami. So I like to see them dudes happy, and being able to talk about the show and have the Panthers play for a long time makes the show better. So I'm rooting for my own self-interest. I don't care, if you guys are happy. I'm rooting for me here. That's sports are about me, okay? But the hockey was fire. First of all, I figured out through hockey, you can't do anything else when you're watching hockey, dude. Hockey is like cocaine, dude. You got to be focused at all times. Somebody might slip something in there you wouldn't expect it, okay? I've never done cocaine, but, I heard about it, okay? People can't get weird, man. I was like, I'm going to watch some hockey. I'm going to write a little bit of the pot. Next thing you know, man, they started slashing the puck. There was fights. There was a fight every 2 minutes. No penalties, by the way. I'm like, this is the reason black people don't do hockey right here. As soon as some black people get in there and we have some fight, they got to cut that out. They turned it to the NBA at the 80s, dog. They got to cut back on the fighting, dude. There was fights. There was slashing. I found out about that last night. There was goals. It was incredible, man. That hockey was lit. Man, I woke up this morning thinking about hockey. Oh man, my dad is so disappointed in me right now. He's like, you was watching hockey? The Cavs were playing. I was like, dude, the Cavs were playing their last game. You was watching hockey? What in the Indians game last night? I was like, yes, I was locked in on Kucherov. Oh yeah, I learned some hockey names. I'm ready to go back to Canada. Vancouver, holla at your boy. Let's wrap up the show. Oh man. Thank you for tuning into the Last Show podcast. My name is Kortney Shane Williams. I appreciate you guys. If you'd follow the show, retweet the show, share the show, subscribe, unsubscribe, do your whole thing. Please check out my website, KortneyShaneWilliams.com. You can see where I'm working. I will be in Seattle, Washington, recording my comedy album, ladies and gentlemen, the 27th and 28th of August. Hope you guys will be there. Get tickets to host your bang. If you got to fly in for the show, let me know. I can't help you out with the tickets, just let me know. It would make me feel good that somebody's coming from out of town, man. So that'd be great. Other than that, man, it is what it is. I don't know when I'll be back on the pod. I know I'll definitely be back by the weekend. So in between now and the weekend, we'll see if there's a little Easter egg for you. All right, take it easy. Peace. All right, man. That's the stream. Thank you guys for checking it out, man. Share it. It's all love, man. Be easy. Peace.